So we're here in the middle of Croatia, and next to me is no one else than Mate Rimac, the founder of Rimac Automobili, and it's amazing, right? The Navera, the fastest electric hypercar, is right behind us, and that's not everything that you do. Can you just tell us very quickly about your journey? How did you come to create this car?
Well, it's a long story actually. It's just 12 years that I started a company, but I'll try to be super quick. So I was always crazy about cars. I was born in Bosnia, and when the war started, my parents moved to Germany, and my parents tell me that I went crazy with all the cars all of a sudden, because where I was born, there were basically no cars. And we moved back to Croatia 10 years later, after the war, and then in high school, I was the national champion for electronics innovation. Wasn't a great student, but I always fooled around with stuff in my garage, but I always wanted to do something with cars. So as soon as I was 18 years old, I bought a 1984 BMW 3 Series to race it, because that was the easiest way to start racing. And on one of the races, my friend here was driving it, actually the second race we ever did. So Goran, he's here somewhere, and he blew up the engine. So being from Croatia, I read a lot about Nikola Tesla, who was from Croatia, and he invented the electric machine. And I was always fascinated by him and by the electric motor he has invented. And I was thinking, why was nobody using the potential of the electric motor to create a car that's not only environmentally friendly, but also fun? So when the combustion engine in the BMW blew up, I decided to combine my two passions, cars and electronics, to build a car that shows that electric cars can be fun and exciting. So I built a BMW in my garage into electric car, started racing. Everybody was laughing at me, like, what are you doing with this washing machine on a racetrack? So that was 2008, 2009. There was no Tesla, you know, it was very different than today. And so I was there and had lots of problems with the car, but kept improving it. Then in 2011, I broke 5 FIA and Guinness World Records with that car for the fastest accelerating car. And I want to build then my own car to use the potential of electric powertrains, because I realized that converting existing combustion engine cars to electric is not the right way to go, because they're not built to be electric. And from there on, it was a long and hard journey with so many times we were so close to fail. Sleeping on the floors, not being able to pay suppliers and salaries to the employees, lots and many times. So it was a really super tough journey, but now we are over 1,000 employees. We make our own hypercars. We develop and produce core components like battery systems and powertrains for many other car companies like Porsche, Hyundai, Pininfarina, Koenigsegg. And now we also took over Bugatti, so now I'm the CEO of Bugatti as well.
Which is just an incredible story. But I would just like to go a little bit back, because when you started then your own company, it was not just about creating your own hypercar, it was also about working for the automotive industry. And the mobility sector is changing. You just said yesterday you are a firm believer that the cars will be electric in the future. People won't be owning cars anymore that much. So what is the best way for corporates and also startups to work together and make this future happen?
Yeah, the industry is changing like never before, like it hasn't changed in the last 100 years. And electrification is just a small piece of it, because I don't think that's really the big change. The big change is the change in ownership and usage of the car, because in the future, most people will not own cars anymore, they will use them as a service, and they will not drive the cars, they will be driven in the cars by the autonomous driving system. And then you have completely different players, like the car company becomes not the dominant one anymore. Now you have the car company who sells your product, that's it. End of story. Somebody services it, you go somewhere to charge it, but that's it. Now in the future you'll have the autonomous driving provider, which can be the same company like who makes the car, but might also be different companies, who can be the same company who's also the mobility service provider, like Uber, can also be a different company. So the ecosystem changes, but that's also, I think it will be super tough for the existing companies, but on the other hand, opportunities for new players like us.
That's exactly what you need. And how does the game change when you are a startup? You're working with corporates, and then suddenly there's a corporate investment in your company. Does that change everything? How do you deal with this?
Yeah, I read somewhere that like 90% of investments of big companies into small ones fail because the expectations are not met. Like it falls apart after some time. In our case, it was different. Like Porsche invested for the first time in their history into a startup when they invested in us. And over a course of 5 years, they increased their investment 3 times. So they were happy with us, increased, happy with us, increased. I don't know why. It's, I think, just about, in the beginning, being transparent about where the company really is, that you don't promise things you can't do. And then whatever you promise to do, that you absolutely make sure you deliver and over-deliver where you can. And even if everybody thinks it's impossible, you do it. That's the only way to prove yourself. It's like, you know, in big companies especially, you have like, maybe somebody wants to do something with you as a small company, but there's 5 others who say, no way, like we can do it better, or they can never do this, or let's do it with the big partner, not with the small one. So the only way to prove yourselves is to work your ass off and to prove all the naysayers wrong, and then you win them over. That's the way we did it.
Over-promise, under-promise, and over-deliver.
Exactly.
And that's what you did. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for hosting us here in Croatia. Really appreciate it. All the best for your journey.
It was a cool weekend, right?
It was an amazing weekend,
Yeah.
right? Thanks so much again, Mate.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Good.